Hello and welcome. My name is Lexi, and here I like to talk about luxury beauty. And today we are trying out some new and new to me items and creating this look. So if you're interested, let's go ahead and get started. And then at the end, we're going to go through some swatches and comparisons. All right, so we're starting off with primers, and we're starting off with the Viseart eye primer here. This tube is just about empty, so I really have to squeeze to get anything else out. But I have already purchased a replacement. So I have that ready and waiting. So just putting that on the eyes, and you want to make sure your eye primer goes wherever you're going to have shadow, not just on the mobile lid. Make sure you get, a little bit around the eye area as well. For face primer, I'm opening a new box of the Surratt Perfectionist primer. This is my favorite. I use this all the time, almost every day. This is the primer I use. And I've been really trying to go through some of my other primers after I ran out of my last bottle of this, but I decided let's just go ahead and open a new one. So you can see it's a thin, more of a, not quite watery, but it's a thinner texture, and it's silicone free, and it really mattifies the skin. So if you've got like a ton of sunscreen on, your skin feels like really greasy, very shiny, and you want to mattify that a bit without feeling dry, this is a fantastic primer for that. That's what this does. It gives you a little bit of a blurring effect to your skin as well, and it just makes everything glide on beautifully for me. It does also help to extend the wear of foundations. So overall, this is kind of like the perfect primer for me. Next, we're going to take the Tom Ford Shade and Illuminate Concealer. I have shade 0 and 0, which is, I believe it's called Blanc. Yes. And I'm just dabbing a little bit here. We're going to let this sit for a minute, and we're going to go ahead and start working on the foundation. This is the Chanel Ultra Latent, and I have shade BD01. So I'm just going to shake it because it's been a couple of weeks since I've used this one. And just going to get some on my hand here. For foundation, we're going to use the Koh Gen Do buffing brush or buff brush. You can see it's like a domed synthetic brush here. It is one of my favorite foundation brushes. And I'm using more of a tapping motion and then spreading a little bit as well. I'm taking the Sonia G Soft Concealer. I'm not done with foundation, but I like to have my concealer underneath foundation because, I don't know, I like it that way. I feel like it looks a little bit more seamless. But concealer, if you let it kind of sit and dry a little bit under your eyes before you spread it out, it does, a little bit of the water there will evaporate, and it just the coverage is a little bit better. I find I'm less prone to creasing and so forth that way as well. So just added that in. Let's go ahead and finish up the foundation. So here's the foundation up close. I think it's a really beautiful finish. It's more of a matte finish in the foundation, but it's not a dry matte. It's more of a satin matte. And I'm really glad that they added shades to this line. BD01 is a much better match for me than what they previously had available. And you can see I used very little bit. This is what's left from one pump. So we're going to let this sit for a minute, and then we're going in. I purchased a new shade, not new, but new to me, shade of the Sisley Le Fido Ombre number 14 Sparkling Topaz. So we're going to use this today just kind of as a one and done shade. If you're not familiar with these, they do come in a little compact here, and they have one little foam tip applicator in them. And yeah, I like the Sisley shadows. I wouldn't say that they are the best ever. There is some creasing with them, but overall I still like them. I like the colors, and I find that their powder shadows work really well on top of cream shadows as well. So this is the Koyomo eye brush. This is from the Pearl White series. So you can see you've got this cute little pearl white handle with more of this like reddish pink ferrule. So there's one eye brush in the set. We're gonna go ahead and use this. And just gonna get some product on here, and just gonna start kind of in the crease. right, so that's it in the crease. Let's go ahead, get a little bit more on the brush and put it on the mobile lid as well. I love this color. That is really pretty. I just say sparkling topaz. I thought it was gonna be a little bit cooler than it is. It's a warmer brown than I was expecting, but it's really beautiful. I'm just wiping off the bristles of the brush. So I got, all of the excess powder off. I'm just gonna go into the crease one more time and just kind of buff that up a little bit. But you can see how warm this shadow is. There are definitely some, it's actually more of like a reddish gold versus like a yellow gold undertone to it. So it's not like, it depends what kind of warmth you like, but this is more burnished than yellow. So I'm going to reach for one of my older favorite powders. This is the Sisley Vito Pudra Compact in #1 Rosy. And I'm going to use the powder brush from the Koyomo Pearl White series. I'm just getting some powder on here, knocking off the excess. And let's go ahead and put this on. So look at the difference. So I still maintain that radiance that I got from the foundation, but it takes away that excess shine. So I'm going to take the eye brush and just get a little bit of powder on that eye brush, just dabbing underneath here and just going on the brow as well. Let me get a little bit more there, just kind of blending that crease area just a little bit more. I'm actually right above the crease and bringing it up under the brow so it's a little bit softer there. So I wanted to go ahead and try out a new eyeliner as well. This is the YSL Crush Liner Stilo Waterproof. These are pretty new. I mean, they came out at the end of 2021. I haven't actually tried them before. They had some really cool colors. They sold out right when they came out, so it took me a while to get this one actually. But you can see it's this like gorgeous like electric blue. Look at that. It's so pretty. But I wanted to go ahead and put this on, and I wanted to powder under the eyes first because I think I might smudge it underneath the eyes as well. I'm going to take the Sunyoji smudger too, and I'm just going to kind of smudge out the lower lash a little bit. All right, so I'm just putting some on the upper waterline as well, which I don't usually do, but I wanted to try it with this color. All right, so if you look at the two eyes, my right eye has the upper waterline done, whereas I'm just adjacent to lashes on this one. Let me know what you think of the difference before I go ahead and finish this one off. Then for the lower lash line, I'm gonna go ahead and take this same eye brush. Just gonna get a little bit of the Sisley shadow on here and just kind of go right on top of this blue. Honestly, I'm not sure how much I like these eyes or not, but we're just playing around. Let's go ahead and try out a new mascara. So I picked up the Sephora Favorites Clean Lash Stash to Go. If you're not familiar with the way they do this, you purchase this. This was $29 US, and you have all of these minis. But there's also a coupon in here to get a full size of one of these mascaras. So it's a really good deal. So when you open this up, you can see it's, a cute little container, but don't throw this away. That's where your code is. And then this set, we have the Ilia Fullest Volumizing Mascara. I've tried this one before and I did not love that one. But the rest of these I've heard really good things about and I haven't tried them yet. So we've got the Item Lash Snack, the Cali Ray Come Hell or High Water, the Say Mascara, and then the Milk Kush Mascara. Oh, I've actually tried that before as well. I think today, let's go ahead and try out the Cali Ray. I'm just going to use the Refer Lash Curler real quickly and just go ahead and curl these. So I go at double pulse 3 spots along the lashes. And then let's go ahead and try this. So if you're traveling or anything, I love using, you know, these small like travel size mascaras for that. So I think this set is great for that, as well as, you know, the fact that you get the full size. All right, so that's 1 layer of Cali Ray. Let's go ahead and see what 2 layers looks like. I mean, it's ultra volumizing. Look at that difference. All right, so 1 coat versus 2 coats. You can see it's definitely buildable. You can see a difference for sure between 1 and 2 coats there. Let's see how it does on the lower lashes. All right, there we go. For brows, I'm going in with the Surratt Expressioniste Brow Pomade. I'm actually using this up right now before I open a new brow product. And the next one I'll be going to is back to the Tom Ford Fiber Brow Gel. To say I really like both of these, though. Both the Surratt and the Tom Ford are repurchased items for me. Now let's move on to cheeks. When Viseart had their sale recently, I picked up one of their little bronzers. This one is Bronze Noir. I'm not sure how to say that. Noix. So, you know, cute little package. We do have a thing on the mirror here. There is the typical plastic tray for that. And let's go ahead and test this out. I'm going to use the Pearl White cheek brush here. Let's just get a little bit of this off. I don't like to wear a ton of bronzer. Let's just start kind of right here, actually. Just want to see the color. Ooh, too much. Hold on. All right, so that's it. I'm just taking the powder brush here to kind of blend out a little bit of that there because I messed up. So that's the bronzer versus no bronzer. All right, so, you know, it seems nice. I have to think about it more. I still, you know, the Gucci's still my favorite. But overall, I think the color actually isn't bad. So we'll look at this and we'll look at some comparisons in a few minutes. You know, I was going to open a new blush, but I think I just want to go in with an old favorite. This is the By Terry blush, Terribly Denseless. And this one's for Nude Dance. We're going to use the same brush. I did wipe it off, though, from the bronzer. And it still seems like too much. Let's see. Yeah, it's a lot. So I'm just going to dab this on and then wipe off the brush here. And just going to kind of twirl that in today. Just taking this powder brush and just softly going over those. And for a highlight, going in with one of my holiday favorites. This was from Cle de Peau. This is 102 A Glow with Wonder. I'm so excited for the new luminizers to come out from Cle de Peau. And yeah, I can't wait. So I've been reaching for this a lot. Just gonna take the cheek brush on this again as well. Definitely getting some of that off. And just going very softly right on the top of the cheekbone. Look at that. So it's a soft, subtle glow there. Really like it. Just kind of add a little bit below the brow there, whatever's left on the brush. And then for lips, we're trying another Nude Me product. This is the Cle de Peau Radiant Liquid Rouge Matte. Now, I just opened this, but notice it does come sealed in plastic. I purchased a few of these in the matte and the shine formula, and all 4 of them came in plastic. So just a heads up there. And this one here is 102 Touch of Blossom. So it's actually, so packaging wise, you can see you've got the Cle de Peau logo on the top. This is heavy duty, this is glass, and you can feel this is like a strong metal here, not aluminum. And then from here, we go down from more of this shiny finish to a matte glass, a frosted glass finish here. And this is 102 Touch of Blossom. So let's go ahead and test this out. So my lips were dry before starting. You can still see like kind of the lines in my lips. We're gonna let this sit for a second and add a second coat. So it's literally only been like 30 seconds. All right, so there's that. And then I usually like to use lip liner on top of the product. So let's get that. I'm gonna take the Chantecaille lip liner in Nuance. So let's just see how those go together. You can see Nuance is gonna be more brown. Let's just add a little bit of this. So I added just a touch of that, and I'm not trying to get a really precise line. I do want to blend that a little bit. So I'm just taking my finger and rubbing very softly over it. You can see I'm still moving the lipstick a little bit. And let's just add a little bit more of this as well, just to see how that sets. Now, the reason I went in with more of that browner lip liner is to try to add a little bit of shadow on my lower lip in particular, so that it looks a little bit more full. All right, so this is the final look. And let's go ahead, look at swatches, and talk about. All right, so let's go through the products in order. We started off with the primers, the Viseart Eye Primer and the Surratt Perfectioniste Primer. I spoke about these during the demo. They are both my everyday go-tos. Absolutely love these, and both of them have been repurchased several times. This is my, I think, third or fourth tube of this. I have to say, one tube of this is a pricey primer in my opinion, but one tube of this will last me close to a year. So I get like 9-10 months out of it using it every day. Moving on to concealer and foundation. Let's start off with the concealer. This is the Tom Ford Shade and Illuminate Concealer in 0 and 0. And I mean, you can see mine has gotten super messy over time, but since this concealer has come out, it has been one of my go-to concealers. I really like it. The shade 0 and 0 is, light. Typically, I have a hard time finding concealers that are light enough, and it's only been like this year or so that really been starting to find some that have better shade matches for me. Even the really light ones a lot of times run very yellow. So I feel like this is a really good color one. Chanel now has I think it's BR02. That's a great shade for cooler tone, fair skinned people. And then the Say Hydro Beam Concealer comes in a really light shade. So I feel like we've got some really good options for lighter shades here. Now this Tom Ford, you can see, is going to give you a lot more coverage than the other ones I mentioned. This would be a medium to full coverage concealer. Can definitely layer it on and get more coverage. It's an expensive concealer. So, definitely if you can, try it out before purchasing. But I really like it. So I will definitely use this bottle up. And I'm not sure whether I will repurchase it or not. I love it, but I don't really have a concealer that I'm like, ooh, I gotta get that every time. As for the Chanel Ultra Latent Foundation, this is a great foundation. I have shade BD01. Let's just put a little bit of that here. Just gonna spread that here next to the concealer. You can see it's gonna be a little bit warmer. It is going to be a light consistency, and it has a little bit more of a satin matte finish. I think it is a great buildable foundation. I would say it is a medium coverage foundation. So you can kind of get a light medium look with it or go all the way up to a more full coverage medium, but I think it stays pretty strongly in that medium lane. All right, so I let those sit for a minute. I just want to show you any oxidation you can get. Here's the Tom Ford fresh versus older. You can see it's still wet here, but here's pretty dry. There really isn't much oxidation. You know, I wouldn't say there's anything noticeable with the Tom Ford. And then foundation here, just putting a little bit here, but you can see there is going to be a little bit, but again, it's not a ton of oxidation at this color level, but there definitely is some in the foundation. Next up, we went in with the Sisley eyeshadow. This is number 14, Sparkling Topaz. I have to say, this is a really creamy powder. It's not your traditional powder shadow. It is really more of a cream to powder formula, and it's really beautiful. So if you want this intense color, these shadows do go really well on the eyes with a either a foam tip applicator or your finger. They also go on nicely though with the brush. And you're going to get a little bit of a lighter look with the brush, and that's why I wanted to use that today. So we will talk about these Koyomo brushes, you know, after we finish going through the products, but I did want to talk about these today as well. Now, one of the comparisons I wanted to make, this is one of the Sisley eye twists. This is a travel size. This one's actually going in the trash right now because I broke this one. It's really old. But this one here, shade number 1, Topaz. And I just wanted to show you the two colors side by side because they are fairly similar. And, you know, that was intentional. So I would have to say, though, if you're looking at them like side by side, there's a little bit more red in the powder compact versus in the eye crayon. This is going to be slightly cooler in tone, but not a ton. I wanted to show you a few comparisons of the Chantecaille luminescent eye shades as well. I love these. This one here is Giraffe. And these don't have that same cream texture per se as the Sisley, but I feel like the finish is pretty close. I mean, look at the amount of shimmer and everything you have. Now, these are going to be drier in texture than the Sisley. They're not dry though, you know, I mean, they're a powder, whereas this is more a cream to powder. So this is the shade Giraffe. You can see that Giraffe is going to be more intense. There's going to be a little bit more red in there as well. We also have Lion here, which is really more of a golden shade. So just put a little bit of that there. And this is Leopard, the wild bronze shade. This one was limited edition for the holidays. I'm just gonna put this one right here so you can see that. You can see it's very close to Giraffe. They are very similar, but the wild bronze is actually just ever so slightly closer to the Sisley than the Giraffe is to the Sisley. This is going to be a little bit lighter. Notice though also that the shimmer is different. There is definitely more shimmer in the Sisley and these two Chantecaille than in the wild bronze. And then we have a couple of the Dior singles as well. This one here is Poncho. This is going to be a satin finish. Look at that. They're pretty close as well, but you can see the Sisley is actually more golden than Poncho. And this one here is Beige Mitza, which is a metallic. This is gonna, you know, be lighter. It's also a little bit cooler in tone than the Sisley, but they do have more of the same type of finish. So if you're looking for a slightly cooler version than the Sisley, I think the Beige Mitza is a really good option. This is almost exactly the same as the Cosmopolite from the older singles, which might as well just swatch that one as well, right? So here's Cosmopolite. And so you can see Cosmopolite and Beige Mitza. This is a slightly heavier swatch, but you can see the Cosmopolite is a little bit darker. This also feels a little bit creamier actually than the Beige Mitza. But I wouldn't say, you know, they're just different. I wouldn't say one's better or worse than the other. So next we're looking at the YSL Crush Liner. This is shade number 6. It's waterproof. I'm just going to add a little bit more of that right below. So new versus old swatch. And, you know, I think it feels creamy. I wouldn't say it's as creamy as like the Victoria Beckham eye cajoles, but it would be as creamy as a Chantecaille Luster Glide just about, or something along those lines. This here is the Givenchy in number 4, Cobalt, which I would say this is just as creamy. So Cobalt versus the YSL, you can see those colors are almost the same. This is just a little bit more royal blue. The YSL is a little more royal. So texturally, they feel pretty similar. And then my other comparison here is one of the Chanel Style Yeux in 38 Bleu Métal. Put that right here. This is going to be drier in consistency, and you can see it's a more muted blue. It's almost more denim-like in comparison. So I will leave some comments here about where of all of the new items, like the YSL, but going on, it performs very well. I wouldn't hesitate to purchase one again, but it's not at the point of saying, oh, these are my favorite eyeliners ever. Those, I still prefer the Sisley Fude Kohl Stars for me, or I really also like the Victoria Beckham eye kajuls if you want to smoke it out. For me, they don't stay unless I smoke them out. So if I want like a crisp line or something like that, it does not work for me with Victoria Beckham. I end up getting like raccoon eyes and stuff. Next for mascara, this is the Cali Ray Come Hell or High Water. It's a smudge proof. It says 0 smudge, volumizing and curling mascara. And it has a 6-month shelf life, made in Italy. Again, this is a travel size version. And here it's kind of more like your standard straight brush here. I do like the way the bristles feel, like they're dense, they're not like bending or anything. And it's definitely giving me a lot of volume. So if you're looking for a volumizing mascara, this is a good option. For me, I prefer a little bit more separation than what I get with this. So I like it, and I'll definitely use it for volumizing circumstances, but it wouldn't be a daily mascara for me because I prefer separation over the volumizing in my personal preference. Next, moving on to the Sisley Fude Poudre Compact Powder in number 1, Rosy. This has been out for a couple of years. I know I have a ton left, but surprisingly, this is actually a ton of use. Like I use this pretty much daily for about a year, and you can still see like it's definitely domed. I'm not hitting pan or anything. For me, I usually just like to use a little bit of this. It does come with a puff, like a flat puff though, not like a cushiony one. I don't use mine, so I don't remember even what I did with it. But I like to use a fluffy brush, just get a little bit of powder on the brush and, you know, put that on that way. I personally like this for setting foundation, but you can also use it for finishing. There is a little bit of blur with this, but I think it's just a beautiful powder. You know, it's just feels great on the skin. It gives me a little bit more of a matte look without looking powdery, and it's definitely one of my favorites. If you are looking to purchase this powder, I would recommend looking at purchasing it outside of the US, like from Harrods or Selfridges. The powder is much cheaper there, to the point where even if you're paying $30 for shipping, it's still a better deal to pay that shipping price than to purchase it full price here in the US. However, if you can get it on sale in the US, you know, then you might need to do a little comparison shopping there. Moving on to the Viseart bronzer. I have to say this formula feels nice. Let's go ahead and put that here. You can see that it goes on evenly. It feels very weightless on the skin. You know, it's a powder. It doesn't feel like it's not a cream to powder or anything like that. It's a nice shade. It's not quite as cool as some. Let's take a look. This is Tom Ford Terra. This feels a little bit creamier, more like a little silkier. It's a little bit more refined. So that's Tom Ford Terra, which has a little bit more red in it than the Viseart. The Viseart is just a little more golden. This is Gucci in 01. Again, this one is my favorite bronzer. You can see that's also going to have more red. This is the Dior Forever in 04. And this is, let's put this here. I think this is going to be a little closer. Yeah, you can see the Dior is actually more golden, more yellow than the Viseart. And then this is the Sisley Fude Poudre Compact, but in shade number 4, bronze. So let's take a look at that one here as well. Here, you can see that that's actually, it's got more red, but it's actually a little bit more orange in my opinion. And last up, let's take a look at the Victoria Beckham bronzers here. So here's the light shade, which is more yellow. Here is the more cooler tone shade. And then let's look at those together here. Let's put that there. And let me go ahead and re-swatch the Viseart. So here's the Viseart again, next to the Victoria Beckham Mixed. You can see the Victoria Beckham Mixed is still gonna be a little bit more yellow than the Viseart. So overall, I think the Viseart's a pretty good color for me. It's definitely one that I will actually use. A lot of these other ones, I end up not really using them or reaching for them. I'm actually in the process of decluttering my bronzers now, so I'll be sharing that with you guys soon. But yeah, I would say that this definitely goes along with the same color palette of the Gucci 01 and the Tom Ford Terra. It's slightly warmer than those, but not terribly. Moving on to the By Terry blush. We're not going to spend a lot of time on this because it is discontinued, but I absolutely love these blushes. This one here is Nude Dance, which is a really nice pink shade here. So here's Pat McGrath Divine Rose. This is, yeah, that's gonna be cooler in tone. By Terry's gonna be warmer. This is Hermes Rose Nuit. And let's see how that compares. And it's gonna be a little bit rosier. And this is Rose Fio, which I think is gonna be deeper, but yeah, it has a bit more of that reddish tone to it though, that Nude Dance has. It's almost a mix. It's almost a mix of Rose Fio and Rose Nuit. So it's 54 and 61. Moving on, this is one of the Cle de Peau highlighters, 102, A Glow with Wonder. I do have comparisons of this in the video on these, so we're not going to spend time with that right now, but it is a gorgeous, kind of like a peachy champagne with a touch of gold. And I love these because they're subtle. There are new shades coming out in light finishes and intense finishes. So I'm very, very eager for those. Moving on, let's take a look at the lip products. We've got the Chantecaille Lip Definer in Nuance. To say, I always get tricked by this end color because, you know, it looks like a light pink, but really it's like this brown color here. It's kind of warm. I have to say, I like the formula of the lip liner. This is the only one I have, by the way. I don't love this color though, so I don't reach for this very often. And I will leave a wear update on this liquid lipstick, but I think it feels very comfortable. It doesn't like dry down completely. It's not like a matte liquid lipstick that will dry down and set. So you're gonna have transfer. You can see I get transfer just touching it right now. It's really more of a matte lip gloss. So it feels more like a powdery gloss on your lips. So I will let you know if I find this drying and how it performs, but it does not set down. So if you're looking for that, and I have to say, I do definitely still see the lines and so forth. I did not put lip balm on prior to using this. So if I had done that, that probably would have been better. I'll test that out and I'll leave a note here with that as well. Now let's take a minute to look at these brushes. You can buy these individually or as a set. You can purchase them from, I purchased mine from Fude Beauty, but you can buy these also from Fude Japan. That's another place I've seen them. So this is the Pearl White series. So Koyomo is the brand, and that means aged goat hair. So Ko means old and Yomo means goat. So these are aged goat bristles from the 1970s. So what that means is essentially they harvested the hair from the goats back then and they saved it. And it is considered to be a higher grade than what's on the market in the same level nowadays, because the goat hair just seems to be softer from back then, whether it's from diet, environmental conditions, or whatever. But these are going to be very, very soft. So essentially, if you're buying something like a Sokaho level from the 70s, it's going to be more like a Psychoho level now, or perhaps even like a little bit higher than that. So these brushes, the old goat hair, it is hard. It's rare to find those bristles. So Koyomo is kind of going to be your go-to brand for that. They have the largest supply of the ancient goat hair. And they're known for just having a really smooth texture. So if you actually feel it, you don't feel any like crinkles or anything in the hairs. You can see I do have a loose one there, but I mean, take a look. You can see how fine they are. They are very, very fine. They feel incredibly soft, and yet they're very durable. They are undyed goat hair, so you could use these with liquids and creams. I will probably keep using mine with powder products. That's kind of my preference for these shapes regardless, but you know, they are very fine and soft. So they remind me of using something, you know, that maybe I shouldn't use in a cream because they're that soft. So anyway, one of the things that you can tell from these, the bristles actually have, if you shine like a light through them, there's a little bit of luminosity with the actual bristles. So they look a little bit of a brighter white. There's a little translucency to the bristles compared to, you know, some of the undyed goat hair that you buy from newer batches. And this hair, this series here, the Pearl White series, there are actually like 3 different levels. This is the lowest level. They do increase in price. These I felt were pretty reasonably priced. Actually, they're all reasonably priced considering what you're getting, but I try not to buy super expensive brushes. So, because I do like to use mine and not just collect them. So anyway, these kind of fit into my budget and I really like them. So this type of goat hair is, I'm not sure if I'm saying this correctly, otatsu. And that's actually shoulder hair from the goat. So, you know, shoulder hair from the goat, you wouldn't expect to be like the softest. They do have, when you go up into the different levels of the Koyomo brushes, they have some from softer areas of the goat and so forth as well. And they're going to, you know, obviously increase in price there as well. So these brushes though, to say I do really like using them. They feel luxurious on my skin. You can see that the handles here are going to be a little bit thicker, and that's true for the majority of the Koyomo brushes. Most of the styles do have a thicker handle. This is very lightweight, and you can see you've got the metallic red ferrule, which I think is really pretty. So you got powder, cheek, and eye brush. Let's just do a couple quick comparisons. All right, so here is the powder brush, and the brush length here is 145 millimeters. So that's here to here. And then the bristle length here is going to be 49 millimeters. Now you can see that you have a round ferrule here. It is completely round. This is the Kyredo powder brush. And you can see that the shape of this is obviously going to be different. You've got more of an angle here. You can see that the brush length is also going to vary. But just wanted to show you a comparison of brush head sizes. Now look, you can see obviously this is going to be wispier, but it has longer bristles, which allows for wispiness. This is squirrel hair. This is your goat hair. Look at the actual bounce back that you have with this. Another one here, this is, this is really big, but this is the T1 from Chikuhodo. And you can see the size difference, obviously, with the brush head and everything. This is an oval head compared to the round head, but just look at these actual hairs and how these bounce compared to the Koyomo, which has a little bit more spring in it. It's also shorter, which will contribute to that, but the fiber itself also just has a little bit more resilience than those in the T1. And this is going to be a slightly lower grade of hair as well. So something to note. And just a size comparison, this is the Beautylish Lunar New Year brush. So if you have any of their Lunar New Year brushes, they're pretty much the same brush head size. So just to show you that the actual size is pretty similar for your width here, but you can see again this is round versus an oval ferrule, so this is going to be more of a flat round versus totally round. So you've got a little bit thickness, it's a little bit thicker there, and you can see also you've got more spring. Next, I feel like I don't have any great comparisons for the cheek brush, but you can see that it is ever so slightly curved here, but it does flatten out at the top of the brush. This here, this one dried a little wonky, so ignore that kind of bump there. But this is the Soft Cheek from Sonia G. So they're pretty similar in the length of the hairs. They also both kind of have that flat top, and these are both going to be round ferrules, but you can see this is going to be significantly smaller in diameter. And again, the Sonia G, look how wispy that is in comparison to the Koyomo, which has more of a denser feel to it. And this will buff products in a bit better, whereas this one, you're not going to use this to buff things in. You're going to use this to lay down a soft wash of color. So this can be used for both ways, depending on whether you want to do patting, twirling, whatever, but this will give you a soft buff of a product as well. Few other size comparisons. This is the classic cheek from Sonia G. So you can see the handle length size, and you can see how much smaller the cheek brushes are from Sonia G. Notice this does have a slightly pinched oval ferrule. Another one I wanted to compare is the Master Face, which I actually usually use this for powder, but I will use this for certain shades of blush, lighter shades. And you can see that overall, it's going to be a little bit larger than the Koyomo cheek, but they are a bit more comparable in size overall. You know, this is going to have a wider diameter than the Koyomo, so it's a little bit bigger overall, but the brush head length, the bristle length is going to be pretty similar, and you can see that the shape of the bristles is pretty similar. This is a mix of dyed and undyed goat hair, and you can see that your amount of spring and bounce on these is going to be much more similar. This is the closest comparison. All right, just a quick comparison of some eye brushes here. This is the Sonia G Crease Pro. You can see that the Crease Pro shape is going to be a little bit different. This is going to taper a little bit more, whereas this stays a little bit more rounded. Now, size-wise for the brush head, I feel like the Rephr 15 is probably closest out of the Rephr brushes, but you can see this is going to be a little bit larger, because it flays out more. This is the 16 now. You can see how much bigger that is, but notice the shape of the 16 head. My 15, you know, is a little bit more flayed out right now, but you can see that the shape is going to be more similar with the 16 here, but the size is more comparable with 15. And you can see here that 14 is significantly smaller. So this is just going to be slightly smaller than the Rephr 15, but a little bit more tapered. Overall, if you are looking for some luxurious goat hair brushes, I would definitely recommend checking out Koyomo brushes. You know, you can buy them individually or as sets, try out different price levels and so forth. They're really nice. And, you know, once this goat hair is gone from the 70s, there's no more. So they can't make more of that. So yeah, if it's something that you're interested in, I would definitely put it on a priority list. And, you know, I'm not saying these are going to be selling out like in the next month or two or anything like that. You've got plenty of time, but I would definitely try not to put it off for several years if it's something that you're interested in. And again, I think if you know a Fude lover, this is a really great gift, especially when they kind of understand the significance of the hairs and they feel how soft they are and so forth. So definitely check them out. And I hope this was helpful. So please let me know what your thoughts are on all of these products that we used today, as well as these brushes. They're stunning. And yeah, I'll see you very soon. So have a wonderful day.